I teach you.
You are Duke of New York. You're a number one.
I can't hear you.
You are the Duke of New York. You're a number one.
Peace, everybody. Can everybody hear me? If so, please type it into the chat. Excellent. Great. At least the sound is working. Strive to get these in as much as possible. God forbid anything goes down. Hope everybody's well. Another great day in the apocalypse. You know what I mean? WW3. On the way to 4-5. We want to make sure everybody stay alive and everybody has, what they need to survive, inshallah. I hope everybody's been well. Everybody's been watching what's going on, seeing the hypocrisy of the so-called democracy and everything else they're trying to shove down everybody's throat to make it seem like this is all normal, which we know is not. However, the wicked do what they do in the dark. We exist in the light. So we want to make sure that we always focus on what's right. You know what I mean? Now is definitely the time for us to be vigilant and as positive as possible, regardless to what these demons think that they doing. You know what I mean? What they think they getting off, it's really not going to work because, as they say, the best laid plans of mice and men usually fail before they begin. So we're definitely going to take that approach to all of this. And, you know what I mean? For the most part, mind our business. You know what I mean? Because this is about them destroying their world. You know what I mean? We're already living in the post-apocalyptic world now. You know what I mean? Our civilization formally started to crumble and fall between I-492 and I-777, and then from there, from I-777 to about I-871, and then the last phase of that went from 871 to about 1945. Everything after that has been the end of their civilization, as it's trickling on down into the road to oblivion. So let's rejoice and know that, as the prophet said, everything is going to come back into the Asiatic favor. So all we got to do is not be involved and let these white people do what they're going to do, because this really ain't got nothing to do with us. This has everything to do with them destroying what's little left of savage civilization that they've had left, that they've been trying to act like it's been going through. So as the old ones used to say, never interrupt your enemy when they're destroying themselves. You know what I'm saying? So let them do what they do, and we just gonna keep busting it down, so that way we stay active and we understand what we're not privy to at this point. So, anybody got any questions before we get into everything? Why do they keep calling us Negro in America when we are Moors? Because they had to go through a series of redesignations in order to keep up with as many of us that were fighting against these redesignations, in order for them to pass on the false identities through what they call Moors Indian charity schools, which were basically Siberian immigrant farms, to be able to foster these fake identities to the people who came after us, to help them invade us over the past 250 years. And so they don't really have, the the term Negro was just used as a placeholder or a misnomer to regale those who had been reclassified out of the Indian designation, which came out of the Moorish or Moor designation, which is why a lot of our people are confused today. So you don't have to go back into your birth certificate and correct Negro like in your old parents' birth certificate and all that. You don't need to do that because that's evidence of the fraud. You can leave that there because the resurrection or the restitution is coming from you for your family line when you declare your nationality, when you step up and say that you're not Negro, Black, African, colored, Ethiopian, which were all words of art that were used to help further denationalize you so that way they could put you and us under colorable law, under colorable titles. So you having those and basically being able to re-annex those and then take possession of them means that you've reached the age of majority, which allows you to redefine what those things mean for you today. You know what I'm saying? So it's a good thing that we went through all of that because all of this does is prove who the original chosen ones really are. We are the ones who have to learn from our mistakes and don't have anybody coming to rescue us but us. You understand? That's why every immigrant and every illegal that came over here was given a stipend or something after they went over there and destroyed and bombed over their countries. And because these people were too cowardly enough to stay in their countries, create juntas or insurgencies like we learned about last week to basically able to put themselves back on top of their countries, they just acquiesced and decided to come over here and join in up with the identity theft. That's why they're all cursed. You understand? That's why they're all cursed, and none of their countries and their countrymen are going to thrive because they've all participated in the 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 uh, the grand global identity theft of the Moorish Empire and its diaspora. Therefore, we can be held harmless, as they say in law, in financial law, because we are not the ones who are taken advantage of. All of the money that they've been using to pay these people and all of that, all of that money has been coming from us and them using our names, just as the Slovakians or the slaves who came over here on the ships and created criminal enterprises and basically created and forced us as prisoners of war to go into their systems. You see what I'm saying? They are all now held liable for this. You see what I'm saying? So we are the only ones in the world that are not liable for anybody's war or any of that because everybody since I-492 has been living off of our estates. That's why they all come here. So when the Siberians try to call us pretendians, but then they're the ones that are being deported by ICE. They're the ones whose reservations are being used by drug cartels. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones who are being kicked out. When the so-called Africans, whom they try to convince you and I were African Americans, when they are now getting deported, right, and all of that, but we're not. You see what I'm saying? That means then that what we say is true. We're the only ones that are really from here. All the rest of you niggas is not. So they like to paint me as somebody who's anti-Caribbean, anti-African, anti this, anti that. No, I'm anti-fraud. I'm anti-truth. I'm anti going into somebody's country, taking the benefits of the original people that were already there and then trying to scarf your nose at everybody else that has been here, who actually fought for those rights, who actually bled and died ancestrally over generations to allow everybody to basically be free here except us. We're the only still occupied prisoners of war on the planet that everybody is using our states to come up off. So I'm against that because I can't go to Jamaica and set up shop and just live off the government. I can't go to China and do that. I can't go to Serbia or Ghana or any of these places and do what y'all niggas do when y'all come here. So until I can do what y'all do in y'all countries when y'all come here, you can't say that I'm anti anything other than pro so-called Almaricanos Estados. aka pro-American, aka pro the Al Maghreb Al Aqsa. That's what I am. You understand what I'm saying? So until you're ready to open up the coffers in your country, like you do for everybody else, especially when they white or light skinned or white passing or whatever y'all do when they come over there for y'all, and y'all just lay everything open. But then when we come there, we gotta goddamn almost give a pint of blood just to basically go into the beach there, or do the basic stuff that y'all let everybody just run in your country and do except us. Don't talk to me about what I'm anti. I can't be anti myself. You understand? So all of this fake talk about what it is or whatever, these are all just things that people use not to deal with the actual facts of what the hell I'm saying. And what I'm saying is, everybody, we are the only people in the world who basically have, after the fall of our empire, after the fall of that, even with us being prisoners of war, we still allowing people to come amongst us, live off our culture, do everything else. And then when we say, well, hey, this is actually ours or founded by us, everybody want to come and put their fucking foot in it. Just like with the hip hop thing, everybody coming out talking about how hip hop came from Jamaica, hip hop came from Puerto Rico. Like, y'all lying, because I was there. I was there, yo. I was there. I watched it manifest. Okay, I remember. Okay, I remember police. I remember going on the corner with what do you call that? Cardboard and what do you call that? The not whatever it was that we used to break dance on with the linoleum, all that type of shit. I remember having to go to the hard store and get that. I remember looking for big boxes so that way we could sit on the corner and do I remember being ran off the corner in front of police. I remember all of that. I remember when the Rastas and the Jamaicans and the West Indians, they wasn't even with rap. They wasn't listening to rap. They was listening to soca and everything else, just like the Puerto Ricans was listening to bachata and samba and all of the other shit. That's what y'all was listening to. You understand what I'm saying? I remember staying up way late, way up at night, close to the radio, because I had to go to bed at a certain time, and just barely being able to listen to old stations like P Fine and them. This is before this when Public Enemy and Flavor Flav and them niggas was DJs. When I was picking up the latent signal from college radio from Staten Island where they was broadcasting from. You know what I'm saying? Like I was there. I remember making pause tapes. Y'all don't know nothing about that shit. I remember when my mother, exactly. I remember when my mother brought me the Breaks record with Curtis Blow. I remember when I found out that he was called Curtis Blow because he was doing cocaine at 10 years old. 11 years old, I found out what this was. That's how I finally realized what cocaine was. You understand? I remember all of this. Y'all niggas was not there with all of this. Y'all wasn't there. You understand? You wasn't there. And the ones that was there, that was, let's say, Puerto Rican or whatever, y'all niggas was not identifying as just straight Puerto Rican. Y'all wasn't doing that. Facts. Y'all just wasn't doing it. At least not in Brooklyn where I was at. You know what I'm saying? I remember trying to sneak in the Latin Quarter. I remember when Paradise was at the door and was bugged out when I found out that he was now in X Clan. I remember this nigga had Jerry curls, picking and choosing who was going to get into Latin Quarters and all of that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, y'all niggas y'all can't remake the shit when we actually lived it. All right. I remember when crack came out. I remember when Clinton came out with the UWAP that got everybody locked up. I remember when weed was in little Manila bags. You understand? I was there for all of that. I was there for the Kangos and the fat laces and all this shit that y'all niggas is just doing now. You know what I'm saying? The other day I'm watching some shit Selena showed me, and they had this chick from Korea now. She can't even speak English, but she can rap in English, and then she calling herself Queen Vaughn because King Vaughn came to her in a dream, and now she doing some sort of Korean K-pop drill. What the hell is that? But you know what's going to happen? They're going to find some Negro to come and co-sign this bitch, and then that's going to be what it's going to be now. Because K-pop, they banned, if you didn't know, they trying to ban that shit all around because they found out that K-pop was set up by a pedophile from Japan. If y'all didn't know. And it's being run by the Korean mob. That's why they have all of the boys look like androgynous girls, because he wanted all of them to look like little boys. He wanted the little boys to look like little girls because that was his fetish. You understand? It's a scam. It's a scam. So again, don't hate me because I was born here and y'all wasn't, and y'all want to act like now that y'all want to come here because you can't go back to your countries because the Chinese run you out, the small hats running you out, the French or whoever running you out. You understand? Don't hate on us because of that. Because it's not our fault that you can't hold down where you're from. The Jamaican, like I was saying with the Jamaicans, they can't even go on their beaches. The Chinese got it locked. But I bet you the Chinese Jamaicans could go though. So again, don't get mad at me for reporting on what it is that y'all niggas is allowing to happen. You understand what I'm saying? So again, the last shall be first, and that's what they don't like. That's what they don't like. So this whole situation is about to just wake up everybody to the fact that none of y'all is where y'all really from. Okay? That's really we're the only ones where we're from is where we're at. Excuse me, where we're at is where we're actually from. And y'all hate that. And y'all hate it. You done filled up the Black Caucus with nothing but immigrants. You done filled up all of the governmental positions and all of that with immigrants, right? Matter of fact, they just had to deport this nigga this nigga was a Haitian mayor. They elected this nigga mayor out here. Come to find out, he lied about all his paperwork. And they still let this nigga in. Why? Because they know that they run the Haitians out here. It's facts. This ain't nothing to do with this. Ain't even hate. This is what happened. This is real shit. They allowed this dude to get in, and then what did he do? He basically just did everything he did for everybody else, mainly the small hats and whoever did what. Look it up. This nigga was a mayor out here for over 20 years. They just found out this nigga was scamming. Right now, the majority of people who having babies right now is in Africa, right? Specifically in Nigeria. So you know what the Nigerian government done? The gerontocracy in the Nigerian government just did? They just signed over their healthcare science and shit to the United States for the next 25 years. So get ready for a bunch of sterilizations and everything else. Whose idea was that? Whose idea was that? Where's the Nigerians, everybody, that Nigerian diaspora against that? Nowhere. Nowhere. They just gonna let them do it. Do you understand that Nigeria was like India. They had the number one scientific, medical, these things was geniuses. So you know what they did? They went in there and they influxed them with religion. They started hitting them niggas with religion to slow up their scientific progression. They was doing all type. These niggas was making straight cars out of cardboard. Running cars. You understand what I'm saying? The youth just making shit out of nothing. They was on track to do great things. And what happened? They hit them niggas with the religion, hit them with Jesus, hit them with Allah, right? Now look. They trying to build one of the biggest statue of a white Jesus in the world, right there in Nigeria, trying to do it right now. They done signed over their health care because they realized during COVID that nobody in Africa was dying of nothing because nobody in Africa was taking it. Right? So now what do they got to do? They got to shut all of Nigeria down. And who signed them over? They geriatric leadership. They geriatric president. the Boko Haram, who's terrorizing Nigeria, and the Kano states and all of that. All them niggas is set up by the CIA. CIA set up Boko Haram, set up ISIS, set up Al Qaeda, set up all of that. Why you think none of these people ever attack Israel? The Muslims who created the Muslim Brotherhood kicked all of those Muslims out and sent them niggas everywhere else. The UAE. Because all of them niggas is crypto Jews. They not even Arabs. They're all Jews. The Saudi royal family, all them niggas. Look at the Saudi royal family from the beginning of what they call Saudi Arabia. And then look at them by 1945, 1950. It's a totally different people. Them niggas was darker than me. You know what I'm saying? These niggas was all the color Khalid Mohammed. Within a decade, they got rid of all of them dark skinned niggas. And the ones that's ruling now, they don't even let you see them. They don't even let you see them on TV. So don't hate us because we're beautiful, man. Yeah, but now all the reason why Saudi and all of these UAE states was great was because they could show to the world that they were safe. There's no crime there. Because they'll cut your head off and shit like that. Like they'll kill you out there for doing no crazy shit like that, right? Well, all of that's dead now. Forget the crime. You got to watch out for shrapnel. You got to watch out for bases blowing up in your face. You got to watch out for all this other type of shit, right? That's happening. They don't have no control over that. The whole premise of them building the military bases there was a form of soft occupation, which we'll get into. And they messed that up now because they just showed you that they can't protect nobody. So when everybody asks, well, what's the problem in the world? Why is this happening? We know why. You know why. It all goes back to the old adage. The best laid plans of mice and men usually end before they begin. It's these niggas, man. They're done. This nigga was on the news. One of the Moors sent me this in the news. Every so often, this devil put on his little unmarked fed look, and his taps are not even tacked down. So he's actually committing a violation. But he on TV doing this. All because this nigga is totally compromised at this point. Not only did they invest in the fighting game, they invested in the music game. These are the niggas, the Saudis is the niggas that helped buy Paramount with Ellison in them. You understand? They are the ones who bought into that. They are the ones, the Saudis then bought into the boxing game, into the telecommunications game and all of that, right? Then the Koreans, they the ones buying up everybody music publishing and all of that, right? That's why, because they was translating all of that into K-pop. But now they losing money off of that. Yes, in golf and in sports and all that, right? Because these Americans are whores. They'll sell everything because it's a fire sale, because they know it's over for them. They can no longer sustain everything. You understand that they fight in the war in Cuba. They fight in the war in Israel and Iran. They fight in the war in in Ukraine. They fight in a war, in a quiet war in the DRC. Like, this is what they doing. They all over the place. None of these niggas read. None of these niggas are real war historians. They don't understand Rome and all of that. They only understand that on the peripheral as a symbolic aspect. They don't really understand war tactics and how these things done. And the people that did, they fired all them niggas. Because they didn't want to go along with the shit that they knew they was going to destroy. Because this is the point. They're trying to destroy the world. You understand? This has nothing to do with just small hat land and Iran. Iran ain't much better than Israel. Let's keep it real. They not much better. They're a little better because at least they got the sense enough to know that the original man in America is not their enemy. They've made that very clear. Matter of fact, when the hostage situation went down back in the days, the only people hostages that they released was the so-called Black Americans, not the African Americans. We were still Black Americans then. We got rid of the Black Americans because they said they are held harmless. They don't have nothing to do with the administration. And they let all them niggas go. Them white folks was heated behind that. You understand? They was upset about that. And they still said, matter of fact, Iran put Malcolm X on a stamp. Do you know that? The Iranians put Malcolm X on a stamp. Meanwhile, the niggas who killed Malcolm X was out here going to Juma with these dirty Muslims. Ain't that a bitch? You hear what I'm saying? The niggas who actually know, who actually was down with the hit, was able to live out their life, go to Juma, down the street from the Malcolm X school, right? From Malcolm X Boulevard, right? Letting the dudes who took the fall stay in jail, right? And then if you listen to what Dick Gregory say before they died that when they did the autopsy on them, all of the bullets came from the rafters, came down on Malcolm, not directly up. Because remember, they said they ran up and shot up. So you know what that means? That means that they used these niggas, but they gave them niggas blanks. This is what Dick Gregory said. Gave these niggas blanks because they didn't believe that they would actually get it done. That's how dumb they felt these niggas was. And how expendable they was. And them niggas was so stupid that they didn't even realize that they were shooting blanks. Because they just seen the pops coming up in his chest and shit and they thought that was it. Meanwhile, the real killers, aka the CIA or whoever else was doing it on the rafters, they all got away. Then they said that the niggas that actually was really with it, matter of fact, they did a Netflix doc. That's how much they don't care about niggas. They did a Netflix documentary on this shit, bro. And remember, Netflix was set up by Sigmund Freud's great-great-great-grandson. Excuse me, Edward Bernays and them grandson. The father of small hat propaganda. So these people is out of here. They're all getting rid of themselves. Okay? We just got to stay out of the way. That's really what's going on. Also, they believe this the other thing. Listen to this. This the other reason why they're gonna fall, because they whole situation. So the majority of people that supporting the war in the government, right, in America, are the Christian Zionists, which is an oxymoron within itself. You understand? Christians are supposed to be diametrically opposed to Zionism. You understand? But they feel that they not, right? So again, these devils believe that they need to fund this thing because they need to bring the second coming quicker. So the Christian Zionists don't really like the Jews, but they want to support the Jews because they feel that if they help the Jews, the small hats, let's not call them that because they get mad when you call them what they are. When they get the small hats together, they want to help them so that way they can set up their temple, which means they would have to destroy the Temple Mount that was built by the Muslims, right? And once they do that, they would be able to then cause the world to go into destruction, which would then allow the skies to open up and allow Yeshua to come. And then Yeshua then would punish the Jews, raise up the Zionist Christians, and then force themselves, and then they would rule everything with him. This is what they believe. Now, Now, let's bust a bubble. Listen to this. Listen to this.
According to the fathers of the church, at least the ones that I've read, they said the temple will never be rebuilt. And it will never be rebuilt. And the reason being is because, first of all, Julian the Apostate tried to rebuild it and it was destroyed in the process. Christ actually put an end to the Jewish sacrifice on purpose because the Jewish sacrifice in the Old Testament was a lead up or a prefigurement of Christ. And so he gave them one generation in order for them to convert to Christianity, and when they didn't, he put an end to their sacrifice. So technically speaking, there hasn't been practicing Jews in 2,000 years because the temple hasn't been around. They haven't been able to offer sacrifice. Doesn't mean that they don't pray and things of that sort, but they haven't been able to enact their primary religious duties, which is to offer sacrifice. Plus, their Levitic line, which is their priestly line, was destroyed. So. But then, and the difficulty is people tend to misinterpret the book of Daniel, which says when the abomination of desolation takes its seat in the temple. What they don't realize is that is not a reference to the Jewish temple. That's where the Protestants are getting it wrong. So a lot of the Protestants are thinking, oh, well let's help the Jews rebuild the temple, and then that will usher in, because Christ is going to return, after the temple. They think the temple is going to be rebuilt. And then as a result of that, I should say the temple has to be rebuilt in order for the Antichrist to put himself in there. So let's do that so that the Antichrist will come, and then that means that Christ will come. And that's kind of their reasoning behind it. Well, first of all, just getting through the years of the Antichrist is going to be brutal, so I wouldn't be pushing that. But the fathers of the church are very clear that it will never be rebuilt, and that the reference to the abomination of desolation taking its seat in the temple is actually a reference to the Catholic Church. That's what the fathers say it's a reference to. That there's going to be some way in which the situation in the church will become compromised to such a degree. It doesn't mean that people have to know it, but its essential elements will still remain intact. But that the Catholic Church itself would become compromised in that process. Jeez. How about Michael? So Michael, the general belief among the theologians and who have studied this and that type of thing is that he's actually one of the archangels. So he's from the second of the lowest ranks. So which is actually one of the reasons why it's so humiliating for Satan to get kicked out of heaven by him, is because it was humiliating. But as Thomas Aquinas says, anybody in heaven has what they call prelation over anything below them. And so those in hell, anybody in heaven can cast out any demon in hell, God permitting. But St. Michael is, most people are unaware of that. St. Michael is actually the guardian angel of the elect. So those who are, God has pre-chosen that they're going to go to heaven. And so they're actually... God is pre-chosen for certain people to go to heaven. Yeah, because God, if you remember, it's actually part of divine revelation. Christ said, many are called, but few are chosen. And it's God who chooses. It doesn't mean that we don't cooperate in that process. We have to cooperate in the lead up to it. But ultimately, it's God who gives us the final grace to make to bridge the gap between ourselves and Him, right? But so in the Catholic Church, we actually we call it a non-mutual predestination. We believe that God chooses who gets to go to heaven, but and there's indications about that. But if you end up in hell, that's your own fault, because you could have, if you would have cooperated with God, you could have made it to heaven, type of thing. Okay, so he's the guardian angel of the elect. So that meant that when that's why it was his job to kick out the demons from the company of the angels that remained faithful, who were the elect. And so he's the one that kicked them out of heaven. Because he's the guardian angel of the elect, that also means that he became the guardian angel of the Jews, the Jewish religion, in the beginning, because they were the chosen people. But once, according to the fathers of the church, they apostatized and rejected Christ, they ceased being the chosen religion and the chosen people. And now it's transferred to Christians who believe in Christ. They are now those who are he's the guardian angel of the elect of those of us who believe in Christ.
See what I'm saying? See how they got it all switched around? How it's all fucked up? Yes, that's the Vatican exorcist. So this nigga's an Opus Dei, you know what I'm saying, dispensationalists, exorcists for the Catholic Church. And again, I'm not telling you this in the context of, okay, this means you all should become Christian, all that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm playing this to you is to let you know that everybody's perception of what should be happening is off, because everybody is functioning on their own understanding of what they believe the temple is. But what do you call the thing inside of your brain? In between the two sides of your brain is called the what? It's called the temple, right? Right. So they are trying to actually physically build something that cannot be rebuilt because it was meant to be destroyed. Because the people who claiming themselves to be Israelites, who claiming themselves to be Hebrews, who's claiming themselves to be all these things, these are the niggas who first rejected their own redemption. You understand? They rejected their own redemption. So why, right? How are these people waiting for something that allegedly already happened? The apocalypse already happened. We've seen all these melted buildings. We've seen all of the destruction. Our people was the ones carried off into bondage and slavery in their own land. Ancient Egypt, ancient Jerusalem, ancient Chaldea, ancient, all that shit is here. Ancient Mesopotamia, all of that stuff is right here. They transported all of this shit everywhere else, got everybody else to agree that this is what it is, and then they've been functioning as if they are the ones with the true science on all of this shit ever since. And they fooled everybody to now believe this. So now they want the destruction. You understand? This is what they believe. So how can you or I actually rationally talk and get someone to believe something that they have religiously made themselves a party to? You can't. You got to let them destroy themselves. You understand? You think somebody, let's say Yeshua as an individual, right, who actually lived, right? Let's say, would you like somebody to set up a religion in your name that is actually out here murdering and sacrificing and killing babies? According to the story, that's why he gave himself up to be the sacrifice, so that way there would be no more sacrifices. Yet niggas are still cutting chickens, niggas are still cutting up sheep, niggas are still eating babies, niggas are still killing children, eating them. And these are the people that we know are actively running the government. You understand? Do you realize that at any other time in history, this entire situation would have been brought down to the last cornerstone? But it's not now. Why? Because modern humans have been not only brainwashed, but have been beat down so much, right, that they don't even know how to rebel, how to actually stand up for themselves anymore. That's why those of us that actually still have an opinion are such a threat. And regardless to them, they own the media, they own the military, they own everything, and yet and still they still can't get it off. So what does that tell you? That tells you that they've already lost. Look at this. Look at this. You see how many bodies is piling up behind the shit? But all of this is to divert you from that actual Epstein files. So now they created a new false flag with the new nigga who's actually trying to allegedly off Donnie, right? They trying to say that he was a Massey supporter and he was obsessed with the Epstein files and saying somebody should pay for it. So what is that? That's an alley-oop. So that way now we can say anybody that's still trying to focus on the Epstein files is a potential terrorist or a potential assassin. You see what I'm saying? It's all fake. Nobody believes that. No, nobody believes that. But they can get you to stop Google searching it, right? which means that they can mess with the analytics a little more to hopefully get you to not realize all of the other files that's now come out, like the El Mencho files. El Mencho got all of the files of everybody in the present government that was hitting him up, sending him money for the different organs and the different children that they wanted. You understand? So not only do you have the Epstein file, you got the files from all the cartels. You understand? It's not just El Mencho. They doing that with all the cartels. All of them were doing this. We're reaching out to these niggas for children, for body parts and whatever else, to eat and all other stuff they was doing. You understand? So this is beyond, this has nothing to even do with border. Do you understand that the whole state over there that's being bombed to oblivion, they knew and understand that it wasn't going to do that, that it wasn't going to last? Why you think they moving to Argentina and burning up Argentina so they could get the land? Why you think they invading Cyprus right now? Why you think they invading Lebanon right now? And this nigga, he got to do whatever this nigga say, because they allegedly got him by the balls. But this is where Iran, to me, is kind of tripping, because y'all the niggas said that y'all got all of the files on this nigga, so drop him. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Y'all said it, yo, you gonna drop all of the, it's like a mixtape. They talking about, yo, we gonna drop all of the files that we got on this nigga having sex with children. So do it. What are you waiting for? There is not a better time to do it. We waiting. You know what I'm saying? Like, we waiting. What are y'all waiting for? So again, these niggas, they probably cap. This is what I'm saying. Everybody's lying. Everybody is lying. Every government on the planet right now is working on depopulation programs. That's what this whole thing is about, man. They're trying to get rid of niggas. They're trying to get niggas up out of here because there's too many people and not enough and too little of them. You understand? So they all, this is how fake it is. You know how fake it is? The ambassador to what's this? To Iran is at the UN right now. They all at the UN right now. You understand? They all at the UN right now, having talking. How you talking to a nigga that you blowing up? You blowing these niggas up, and y'all sitting around talking? What is the address for the UN? Ain't it 666? I'm saying that's the address. That's where all of the government niggas meet, at a building funded by the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, that's supposedly international ground, right? But was actually basically being run low key by China. And the address number on the building is 666. Like, come on, man. Come on. It's a scam. They're all working together. They all have a vested interest of decreasing all of their populations. 2030 is right around the corner. Thank you. It's 666 3rd Avenue. Come on, man. Come on. So all I'm saying is, stop getting caught up in what they telling you it is, because they're not telling us nothing but lies. They're all lying. They're all lying. You understand? Why? Because they're all being run and funded by these people. And these people do not function through the Torah. They do not follow the Torah. That's for real so-called Jews who haven't waken up to the fact that they whole dispensation, their demonstration has ended. It ended with the destruction of the temple. It ended when Julian tried to do it. I told y'all this last week. It ended again when they rebelled against Sabbatin Sebi. They shut the whole thing down. They shut it all down. So they're not even practicing real Judaism. They're not even doing that. Thank you, Moore. Exactly. The address, the zip code is 10017. So we bust all of that down. That busts down to 9, which is another 6. You know what I'm saying? Like at what point are we just gonna accept the fact that we all know who's committing all the evil in the world? And it's not the regular people. Like I said, there's no crime in the UAE. There's none of that. They'll cut your head off and all of that for the littlest thing. But yet and still they're gonna do this. So when they show you that the Taliban is forcing women to not speak, not drive, all that, that's them. Because none of them niggas is Muslim. They all Jews. They are all Jews, man. They all set up by Mossad. When they set up the original name, before they even called it Mossad, you know what they called it? They called it the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. That's ISIS. Why? Because that is the first goddess in the three-headed god that they based the name of the country under. Isis, right? Isis, the goddess, Ra, the sun god, and Il, the Elohim. Because they're all pagans. They don't even believe in none of that. So when you hear these black Israelites and these people out here talking about the law and the Torah and the this and the that, like, you gotta understand, those was the niggas who rebelled. In their story, they tell you that Musa went up into the mountain, got the whole script, right, from the bush, came down from the bush. Them niggas had already got Aaron, his brother Aaron. He didn't even wait. Aaron didn't even wait. They said, yo, Aaron, you got to build us a god. He said, bet. Go get everybody gold and all that. He didn't even wait. Right away, he built an idol to Hathor, right? Who in their version is Baal, the bull, right? And then what did he do? He set the whole thing up, and they said they had a giant feast. This is in the Bible. They had a giant feast. Where did they get the food from if they was walking around? We talked about this in like 5 classes before. The children. They took the children and started eating them and sacrificed them. And then had a big orgy, right? Had a big orgy, and then when Musa came down, they was like, nah, we done with all of that. That spirit within them still exists. And when I say them, I'm talking about those of us who were them at that time. Because there was no Caucasians doing this back then. Why you think they got kicked out? Remember, these niggas, you couldn't tell the Egyptians from the Israelites, from the Hebrews, none of that. Because they all look the same, because they all came out the same thing. So they all was dealing with a certain degree of paganism and human sacrifice. You understand? That's evil. So he chose these people. So every time he opened up shit for them, they went and did the opposite and started to resurrect the old gods, right? So they got punished. Same thing here. This is from the Jewish Encyclopedia, 1903, volume 5, page 503. The technical language, symbolism, and rites of Freemasonry are full of Jewish ideas and terms. In the Scottish Rite, the dates of the official documents are given according to the era of months of the Jewish calendar and is made up of Hebraic alphabet. The B'nai B'rith are but a makeshift everywhere that Freemasonry can admit that it is Jewish in its nature. as well as in its aims. The ordinary lodges are sufficient for the task. Israel must make sacrifices to Satan so that he will leave Israel unmolested. This is them saying this. This in the Zohar. So when you were seeing all of them, all the celebrities with the little red tassel around their arm, and they were talking about the Zohar and what you call it, Madonna paid Daniel Mack $15 million so he could sit there and translate the Zohar and translate the Kabbalah and all of that for them and all of that. What you think they was doing this for? Spiritual enlightenment? Yes, the Mormons. That's that. They're all small hats, bro. All of them. The Muslims, the Judeo-Christians, the Freemasons, the Hindu. All of these niggas are this. They're all the same. Y'all are making it different in your minds. They're not. They're all following the same. They're all doing human sacrifices. All of them. The Christians is doing it. The Muslims is doing it. The Hindus is doing it. The Buddhists is doing it. You understand? You're making distinctions in your mind that don't exist. Look at this. The demonic power should be given a portion, occupying and assuaging them so that they will not disturb Israel's intimacy with God. What? The evil impulse is good, and without evil impulse, Israel cannot prevail in this world. This is in the Zohar. That's what all these books at the bottom, that's what all of these books are saying. This at the top, this is the Talmud. This is the one that says that they are able to have sex with 3-year-old babies. This is the one that says that they're supposed to do the mitzvah pet when they take the foreskin of the penis in their mouth, and then they all kiss each other and pass it around. Right? This is custom. This is their religion. So you can't tell them it's wrong. This is what they believe. This is what they practice. The babushka mothers, they would take the foreskin and they would chew on it after the priest was done. This is facts. This has nothing to do with whether you like them or not. This is their religion. They tell you in their religion, they believe that Yeshua is burning in a giant cauldron of excrement with his whore mother Mary. This is what they believe. Then in the Talmud, it also says they have the right to lie to you about it. What you think the scapegoat ritual is about? When they put all of their sins on the goat and lead the goat away so that way they could lie to you for another year and not worry about going to jail. This is how deep they are with the evil. Why? Because their religion says they have to be evil. Because that's what they believe. And you can't deny them their religion, because then that means you're a tyrant. Do you see how it works? You see how it works? So this is how they believe it's going. You know what I'm saying? This is how they have to run their society. And if you're not with it, then that means you're not with them. All of this came about through the Shabbats, right? The Shabbats are like the mob, right? And again, I grew up around these people. I grew up around them in Crown Heights, 1250 President Street. Okay, that's where I grew up. You understand? I was there. We lived around them. Okay, so you can't tell me what I witnessed as a child, and I saw some wild shit living around them people. Okay, so you can't tell me. You I have firsthand knowledge. Okay, I was around, seen these niggas. So you can't tell me that what I'm saying is hate or any of that. This is actual life experience. I was there for the sacrifice of Gavin Cato. I was there when they got him out the country got the dude who ran him over on purpose out the country and all of that. I was there for the riots when we was turning up. We turned it up to the point they had to get Giuliani in there to start to lock up as many black people as possible because they was not giving them no quarter. They used to come to us and ask us to come into their house and turn on the lights because that was part of their ritual. They couldn't touch any technology on Fridays, on Shabbat, right? But these same niggas was driving cars. So you see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Like they all over the place, pick and choose what it is. So now they've got everybody involved in the war, and now they're basically going to leave their people to be destroyed. They're going to leave whatever ones that can't leave in there to be destroyed. They're going to let them grow, and they're going to go and set up another spot anyway. Because Palestine wasn't even the original place they was trying to send them after World War II. They was actually trying to send them first to China, in a place called Manchukuo. But after the revolution, they told them niggas, no, y'all can't come here. So that's when a lot of them started going to other places. And they couldn't go there neither. Why? Because everybody knows that these ones is not the ones. They're the ones doing the opposite. So it wasn't until Menachem Schneerson came, and he's the one who started to basically practice, because up until then they were very insular. So his goal was to basically make it so that way everybody could receive the mitzvah, meaning any Jews anywhere would be able to come back and be Jewish. And so that's when he set up the whole thing to be able to get everybody to start being down with them. And that's what they did. They started to open up the gates and started to come. That's when they came to Brooklyn. This is in the 30s and 40s. That's when they came to Brooklyn and they started opening up shop, started buying up everything, started getting politicians in their pocket, started going into the schools, started to create. You understand what I'm saying? Started to basically pay and spend money, and then through the money they started to get these people in compromising positions, and then started to use the blackmail situation. That's why the Lubavitch always had beef with the Setmars, because the Setmars wasn't with that. They're the ones that live in Williamsburg. And so from that point on, they became almost like mortal enemies. The Satmars and the Lubavitch, where they was like the Crips and the Bloods, where they would like low-key have gang wars and shit against each other. Like, this is real. Like, this is how they was getting down. You know what I'm saying? And so this continued and it's continued up until this day. So everything got to deal with a sacrifice. So this whole war, what they calling a war, is just a mass human sacrifice. That's what this is. This is not a war, because nobody has declared war on each other. According to the tenets of the occupational war, you got to declare it. Nobody has declared anything. They're just in an armed conflict. This armed conflict is a mass human sacrifice ritual. You understand? That's what they're doing. What the hell is this thing? And like I said, all of this shit started once your boy got put in the ground. Your boy Messy Jesse. Once he was up out of here, right? The African American thing died. So now that spell is over. So they can't continue moving on that stuff and getting us to co-sign that anymore. So that's causing a problem for them, because we're not under the spell. Palestine before the Ottomans was basically an annexation or extension of the Caliphate in Egypt. They had the Mamelukes running it for some while. They had like everybody been ran through there. You know what I'm saying? At one point or the other. Everybody had their turn running that place. But prior to that, the so-called Palestinians and them niggas was mad, was mad peaceful. They are the ones that allowed the ones that's burning them up and killing them up now to come through. And they let them come there and they let them be there and it was cool and all of that up until the Nakba. Once the Nakba started, that was it. That's when they just started unloading and killing all of them and forcing them out of their homes and all of that. The same people that let them come there and be cool and all of that was the same ones that ran them out. You know what I'm saying? So this is the problem with man-made religion. And as great, like I said, as great as Kemet and all of that was, them niggas was wilding too. You understand? Like there's a reason why all of them places got turned to stone and ash. You understand? It was glorious to a certain degree, but it still was horrible to a certain degree because they was all dealing with human sacrifice. And you cannot be out here sacrificing people for some fake power that you think you're going to obtain by entities that have no business being here anymore. You understand? That's the linchpin in everything. That's the reason why everything is messed up. Because these people keep sacrificing, and specifically children. They're all constantly destroying and disrespecting children. When the whole thing started, what did they do? The first thing they did, bombed the children, bombed the girls' school, right? Then after everybody talking, we want the Epstein files out. We want the Epstein files out, right? Then the Epstein files come out. Then they say, well, we're going to put out the files of everybody in Congress that's under criminal investigation and sexual misconduct. And they all, your girl Jasmine, your girl Presley, your girl Elon, your girl what's this bitch name? Ocasio, right? Jeffries, all of these freaks, all of them niggas on both sides. Massey, all of them came out and said, nah, we can't put that out. So what are they telling you? They telling you that they're all criminals. They're all sexual criminals and deviants. You understand? All of them. So we're paying pedophiles and Satanists and baby eaters and cannibals. This is who's running your government. So Iran is not wrong about that. So what are we going to do about it? That's the question. That's why they even kept putting it out there like that, to say, they basically saying, so what y'all going to do about it? What y'all going to do about it? Yeah, doing all of that. We're not going to process nobody. We're not going to lock nobody up. Meanwhile, around the world, niggas is going to jail. They are shutting whole governments down behind this. Not here. This nigga just came out and said, no, anti-Semitism is on the rise. What? What? You supposed to just take it. Like, that's what they believe. They believe you're supposed to just take it, yo. You're supposed to be okay with them doing all of this. Because to them, you're not even alive. Remember, the Talmud is basically a bunch of fake laws that they could basically break down the Torah and give them the ability to sacrifice and eat people. That's basically what the whole Talmud is about. Is undoing everything in the Torah and giving it a legal context to it. You understand? That's basically what it is. And that's why they don't deal with the Torah. They'll read it and all of that, but remember, I told you, who translated all of the Bible stuff? What was that translated from? Was it translated from the Aramaic? That the language of Yeshua? Was it translated from that? No, it wasn't. It was translated from who? It was translated from who? The Greeks. And the Greeks were what? Hellenists, right? They were the Hellenes, right? They were the pagan Hellenes. And what did they do? They were the ones who basically couldn't set up nothing because in Greek culture they had to be pagan. So they had to go along with the human sacrifices. They had to go along with everything that these people wanted them to do, right? Right. And so they did. And so we're getting the Bible and all of this stuff from the same people, right? Who not only murdered Yeshua according to the story, but they are also with the actual pagans. They're actually with them and incorporated all of that into their books to the point that you even get somebody like Paul who was actually out there killing his own people, killing them to the point where he got in on the racket and was like, yo, I'm going to get down with this and we're going to use this to help perpetuate and keep Rome going. Another pagan society, right? Get this book, The Dark Side of the Talmud. Yeah, get all of this. This is what they dealing with. So when you be putting on your apron and all of that, and you be going to your little lodges on Thursdays and Fridays, like this is who you going there with. This is they doing while you doing whatever you doing. This is what they doing. Because all of this is Kabbalist, Talmudic mysticism, masquerading as Freemasonry, masquerading as Christianity, masquerading as Muslims and whatever else, Hindus and whatever else. Like, at some point, we have to just accept the fact that everybody is compromised. Everybody. They're all compromised. They're all down with it. Nobody that's in that position of power is right, no matter what government they in. Because if they was actually good people, they wouldn't be in the government. You see how it works? Good people don't go into government. Good people govern themselves. Because the temple of God is within. You see why they hated this nigga? You see why? Didn't we show improved last week? We showed improved through the snitch who said, no, all of the real temple stuff went on in people's houses. That this nigga who became the head of the organization, incorporated it, worked to kill the prophet, did all of that, he become the head of the organization, and the next day, he don't know where the 38,000 members that was in there the day before he took over is at. So we supposed to believe all of these people today? How we know that you're not coming from that dispensation? You don't. You don't. We can only piece together everything because none of us was there. They won't even let us hear the prophet's voice. You understand? It's tapes out there with him. I'm the one that brought it to everybody's attention because I'm like, all these years ain't nobody asked this question. Now I'm hearing other people say it. Cool, great. So now maybe we all can, this voice can now become louder, and maybe somebody can find it, and we could do something to figure it out where it's at and who been hiding it all these years. And I guarantee you, it ain't a white man hiding it. I bet you. I bet you it ain't a white man hiding it. I bet you it's somebody that look just like us hiding it. You understand that one of the so-called Supreme Grand Sheik of the Moorish Temple at one point, or the one that they saying was the one at one point, this nigga was a Christian pastor? Yo, son. And then they tell you that the Moors is traitors, that the Moors is dirty. They tell you that the Moors is dirty. What? That's why. But see, when you think you could be a Freemason, you could just be anything. You could be everything at once. That's how they make these niggas think. You could serve 8 masters at one point. It's all just knowledge. It's all just, this is what they tell themselves. This is what they tell themselves. Then they get a bunch of other niggas around them to go along with it and act like it's true. It's sad, bro. It's sad the way we act with these people, man. Like, you got to understand, the people telling you that you don't have no culture have been living off of your culture for most of their life, since they left wherever they came from. since they left their culture to come over here and tell you that you ain't got one. This is what you're dealing with. And again, just like good goy, you're supposed to just come and take it. You're supposed to just take it. You're supposed to just believe what these people say. Come over here, they put on your clothes, they act like you, they do all this other type of stuff, and what? Then they tell you that you ain't got it. It's crazy. It's really crazy the way that they got our people, man. Yet the spell is lifted. See what I'm saying? It's lifted, and now it's coming back to the gifted, and they don't like it. So they gotta reinforce you. They had Obama, Kamala, Clinton, Hillary, and all of them at this nigga Messy Jesse funeral. All these demons at his funeral. Why? Because that was his people. That's who he sacrificed all of us for, to appease them. Obama, right? What did he do? He set up everything for gay rights. He turned Libya into a slave state. He destroyed everybody's health care from this point on, right? He did all of that. Clinton, he helped promote the drug trafficking. He presided over the Oklahoma bombing. He set up the whole prison pipeline, right? He initiated that. Biden, the fake Biden, because the real Biden been dead. So I don't know who was at this nigga's funeral, but whoever was in the Biden mask, he's dead. He's the one who first came up with the whole thing. They all of them actually went to Admiral, the Ku Klux Klan dude, when he died. They was all at his funeral too, right? He did that. Harris, right? She's the one that was trying to promote all of the transsexual rights, to get your children to mutilate themselves and all of that, right? All for the Soros. She's the one who was trying to lock parents up for these kids not going to school, right? These are all the people sitting front row. And his son went out and said, look, we don't want to make this a political thing. And every one of them niggas went up there and started hooting and hollering about how bad Trump is and all this other type of shit. And all them black people sitting all there, all them Negroes sitting there, let them all do it. Like good goy. And that's what I'm saying, man. You can't trust these. You can't trust your own. These people, all of them together, have done more destruction to the melanated community of America than any drug, anything, or anybody. Yet they all there singing with the choir, right? Right? And it's all good. So of course they think that we're supposed to just do everything and we're supposed to just do what they say. Of course they believe that. So it's all and came out. He just came out he's so crazy. Donnie's so crazy. He just came out the other day and basically admitted that they set up ISIS and everything. Deposed the Syrian government for Benny B and put in the puppet that's running it now. That's running Syria right now. He came out and said it. Like they just done. They just crazy at this point. Look, we created ISIS. They're treated by the Israelis in Israeli hospitals and brought back to the battle. Why? Because after the war with the Midianites are the Moors, Moses commanded the Israelites to kill the male children and women who have known a man, but to keep the young girls who are virgins for themselves. How come the Hebrew Israelites and the rest of the niggas ain't talking about this? How your God wanted you to be a homicidal maniac and kill everybody, go into Canaan and kill everybody. Everything we know about Canaan come from them. The niggas who stole their land. Think about that. Think about that. Everything you know about the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Moabites, all of that come from them. The same people whom land that they went and killed everybody to get. They didn't go to it. They didn't stay in Egypt and fight the Egyptians to take over the country, did they? No, they went somewhere else. And now we got to take their word that what they say about what happened. The same people who relied on the Greek translation instead of the Aramaic translation for their Bible. Think about it, y'all. Yet and still, we're the ones, when we read about all of this stuff, that the Phoenicians were the ones bringing all of the information, bringing the goods, creating all of the industries, right? Israelites ain't had no industries. They didn't have nothing when they left. They didn't have nothing. You understand? Nothing when they left. So everything that we know about them came from the people who stole their land. Think about that, y'all. Just like everything you know about Yeshua comes from the Bible, come from Judeo-Christians, come from people who don't even believe in him, who believe that he is burning in excrement. And his mother was a whore, and he was a Egyptian magician. That's why he was able to flip the miracles, because everybody in Egypt knew magic. These are the people who's printing your Bibles. These are the people who they want to create a whole nother state with, so they can bring about the destruction, so they can bring about the Antichrist. Think about this. Because they're all insane. And if you follow them, you are also insane. That's what we have to reconcile, y'all. We have to stop the insanity. We have to stop perpetuating insanity amongst each other and calling it religion, calling it science, calling it expression. It's not. It's a scam. They're all scamming. None of them are from here. The ones that are from here are the ones that sold us out. Look, weird to see Democrat politicians who eulogize KKK leaders call black people super predators who must be brought to heel, who said that black male masculinity is toxic. That was Obama and Steph Curry, by the way. Steph Curry, by the way, is one of the biggest supporters of the IDF. This nigga has invested in Israeli weapon systems. Look it up. Did you know that? And it said if black people didn't vote for them, that they ain't black. They get cheers and standing ovations from black people at Jesse Jackson's funeral. That's why these niggas feel that they run you. And they even lied and called Harris a president. Jesse's son said, I'd also like to honor the 5 presidents who are sitting here today. President Harris, President Hillary, President Clinton, President Bill Clinton, President Biden, President Obama. And nobody said nothing. That's why they feel they run you niggas. That's why they feel. And look, they put them all front row. All of these niggas together have killed millions, have presided over the killing of millions of people. You understand? Yeah, Steph Curry invest in military what do you call it? Israeli military defenses. Look it up. That's the other thing. These Africans talking all of this about us not having a culture. Do you understand that all of these places was set up in the 60s by the white people that was leaving, who only got there and was sent there by the so-called black nobility, the black Europeans who was in power, who then followed them over there and then got trapped because then the white folk left, went back to Europa, set up estates, took over their estates and all of that, and forced them into exile. Then all of them niggas went into Africa, and basically that's why the Africans are so crazy. So again, all of this is for them to bring the second coming quicker, which ain't gonna happen. Because it's all a scam. Like Napoleon. Y'all know that, it was 3 different Napoleons, right? Y'all knew that, right? There's 3 different Napoleons. And all 3 had a different job. But did you also know that, wait, let me get it up. That one of the Napoleons get it. Man. Okay, that's that. No, that's Mr. Mason. Anybody have any questions while I pull this out? Also, there was more than 3 temples. We're gonna get to that in a second too. That was built. Brother Rex from Facebook, big up to him. He posted this joint about that as well. I'm gonna get to that in a second. Hold on. Yeah, so there was 3 Napoleons, and each one was used to break down a different portion of the empire. And then once that was done, they did it. That white Asperger's niggas who be watching my tapes and then be doing his own tapes and all of that on it. He's this white boy, seen with like no emotion. He's like a dead body, just talking and shit. And he always be talking about hybrids and white people and all that, acting like he ain't one. Let's see him do something on this. Yeah, there was 3 different Napoleons. But did you know that one of them Napoleons actually is the founder of the FBI? Did y'all know that? 3 Napoleons refer to the French Bonaparte dynasty leaders. Napoleon I, who was the emperor leader. His son Napoleon II technically reigned for 2 weeks as a child. And his nephew Napoleon III, president turned emperor, who modernized Paris, right? They shaped the 19th century French history. Remember, the United States Corporation came out of France. After the so-called Congress of Wilhelmsbad and all of that went down, and after the so-called French Revolution got rid of all of the Moors and all of that, those that was able to escape came over here and linked up with their families in the Louisiana territories as well as the Virginia territories, set up a whole nother corporation, and then they wound up taking over that corporation, which they turned it into the Charleston Cincinnati Railroad Company. That company became the basis of what became what we call the CIA, or the groundwork for what became the CIA, or the OSS first, and then eventually became CIA. The FBI, though, was set up by Charles Bonaparte, U.S. Attorney General under President Theodore Roosevelt, aka Booker T. Washington, was responsible for the creation force that would become the FBI. The founder, on July 26, 1908, Attorney General Charles J. Bonaparte issued an order to create a regular force of special agents within the Department of Justice. This action is considered the formal beginning of the agency. So it was started by French niggas. You understand? The whole thing was set up by Frenchmen. Here go his little joint that he sent to the Attorney General, which again was illegal because they were already executing powers from a vacant office, and they were impersonating the original people. So I wouldn't even think this the real one. It's probably a black nigga. You see what I'm saying? And they just using this white man as the decoy for it, because that's how Booker T and them niggas was doing. So yes, so the FBI was set up by the French, just like the United States was set up by the French. Okay? And the French were the Franciscan, the broken up, dirty, amalgamated Moors who took over the Huguenot culture, right? And then basically forced those Huguenots into a compact agreement, again, through that whole Wilhelmsbad thing. And then all of them basically got together. And they wound up coming over here. Excuse me. And they wound up coming over here, assuming identities, taking over shit. Where the hell is this thing at? Okay. Hold that. Hold that. Same thing. When they say when they made that the small hats or the Hebrews were supposed to take over all of the nations, that wasn't true, because they weren't everywhere. They were only in places where the Romans and the Egyptians was at. So wherever the Romans and Egyptians had sway, that's where they was at. Because remember, Rome and Egypt basically blended together during the reign of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Right? And then there was a break-off society that came from them that we call ancient Mauritania. And those ancient Mauritanians basically set up their own little dispensation outside of all of that and were able to create their own kingdoms, right? And this is where you get, there's a book, The Lost Treasures of King Juba. Get that book. Who was the first king of Mauritania? Over here. Because remember, that Mauritania over there only became that in the 1970s. So they can't be talking about the same place. But we have it here in the congressional records. Where the hell is this thing? Yes. Hold up, y'all. I hate this thing sometimes. Let me just get it off the thing. So the French, who were basically the first open traders who decided that they were going to allow fraternity to replace familial lines and imperial monarchical lines, they are the first ones that started to adopt the libertarian, or what they refer to as the egalitarian form of occupation, where fraternities and secret societies and all of that would be able to do that. You understand? That's why in Louisiana they have what they call the Red House. That's one of the only so-called Freemason demonstrations in the country where there's a whole Red House district where they do their things there, because they were always about taking over what land was left from the Moors and the so-called Aithans, who they call Haitians, who they got to kill their own emperor. Remember, the Haitian people killed their own emperor who delivered them out of bondage, the Saunier, who was setting up more. And they had jurisdiction over parts of Mexico as well as parts of Old Paris, which is St. Louis, and little inlets in Louisiana. And their own people, they call it the ritual of killing of the black pig. So their own people killed him, and they've been cursed behind that ever since. Don't hate on me for knowing the history. You understand? But this is what y'all niggas do. That's new. Let me see. Here we go. So the term Latin America is a French term. I don't know if y'all knew that. Latin America, Amérique Latine, is a phrase of French origin. So when Latin Americans, Latinos, call themselves Latinos or Latin America, they're actually putting themselves under French jurisdiction because the French was the ones that started to import all of these people over here. 19th century, it was promoted by French Emperor Napoleon III. See? And the thinkers like Michael Chevalier to justify French intervention in Mexico and establish a cultural political connection between France and the Romance language speaking nations of the Americas. You see, it was a scam to take over Mexico, who at the time was not called Mexico or Mashika. It was Alta or Alta. The purpose term was created to promote Latin, Europe, French, Spain, Portugal, see, as having a shared heritage and the region distinguished from the Anglo-Saxon America. Anglo-Saxon don't even mean white. It means the Angles of Saxony, right? Or the Angels of Saxony, who were Moors. Look up the Theban region, the Theban Legion of Maurice, of St. Maurice, the original Anglos of Saxony. Popularization, it's heavy used during the 1860s, see, as a diplomatic justification for the Second American Empire, a French intervention project, see, to take over what they was doing. The language scope, the term highlights the region's shared linguistic roots. Spanish, French derived from Latin, rather than indigenous languages spoken there. Alternative origins, some sources suggest the Chilean politician Francisco Bilbao, right? Bilbao, a Colombian writer, Jose Maria Torres, right? Who was a small hat, introduced the term in 1856, after which it was popularized by French imperial ambitions. So these Latins who are so proud of being Latino and all of this other shit, y'all niggas was just duped by the French so that way they could go with the Mestizo people who helped fund the Mestizo revolution to take the land from the original owners who were already there, i.e. the Moors. Napoleon III aimed to establish a Latin bloc in the Americas, see, a French bloc with the term Latin to make them feel like they had a nationality, which they didn't, because none of them was actually from there. They were imported there from France, and I'm going to show you where in France. The concept of a Latin race in the Americas was developed by thinkers, again, as Michel Chevalier, an advisor to Napoleon III, who argued for the connection between the France and the former Spanish Portuguese colonies. You see? You see? So they not only created Latin America, but they also created the FBI. And they also helped create the United States Corporation. Well, where did they import these niggas from? That's interesting. They imported them from here. They put them on boats, and they brought them from here. Because none of these people that we see as Chilean, that we see as Honduran, all of the mestizo looking ones, the white ones, the non-indigenous dark-skinned ones, all of them are actually these people. Basques. A captivating guide to a history of the Basque colony starting from prehistory to Roman rule in the Middle Ages to the present. These were the Caucasoids that they was grafting. That's why they have no actual distinction as to where they come from. See, the Basque region covers the 4 provinces of Spain and 3 in France. You see that? Get this book, you'll see. And they imported these niggas and started to overrun the original peoples that was already there, that already had their science and already had their peoples already there. And they started to rebel against the monarchy and all of the Moors again that were already there. Because that's where old Granada, the viceroyalty of Spain, and all of that stuff was at. Tejas, all of this was all Moorish. And they started bringing these niggas in by the boatloads and forcing them into what became the Mestizo Revolution. These are the niggas who made them on the left, the Moors. But at the end of the fighting and all of that happened with those Moors and wound up getting kicked out, these niggas was left. But the Basques themselves, they don't even know really where they came from. They don't even know like what that's how you know they was grafted. See, Alta, California, Nueva Mexico, Tejas, all of this. And then Granada was right around here. This was the west and east of the Nueces and the Bravos rivers that we read about in the Congressional Record of 1845, when it said that all of this belongs to the Moorish peoples. These are the Moors that created them. Look, see how this one looked like a Argentinian today? This one looked like a Mexican. This one looked like what you call it, white Guatemalan. This one looked like an Argentinian. This one looked like, you see, they all white people. See, Basque first, people who changed the world. See, this is what Mexico or Mexica and all of that old Maya was. It was Alta, right? Well, look what they say about them. Then they mixed them in with the Chinese that they was bringing in. And this is basic. You can get those books, but this is you can just get this off of Wikipedia. This is how crazy this shit is. Alta, California. Alta, California, Upper California, known as New California, right? Among the other names, Khalifa was among other names. See, right there, they letting you know, was a province of what? New Spain, formally established in 1804. How is it New Spain when, when the French, see what I'm saying, was basically trying to get up in, because it was all still Moorish. And Las Californias, right, which was the that's why they call it Los Angeles. Like I said, the Anglo-Saxon, the Angels of Saxony, the Moors. Following the Mexican War of Independence, it became a territory of Mexico in 1822 and renamed Alta, right? It was always named Alta. The territory included the present-day United States, California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, Wyoming, California. Territory was recombined with the Baja California, Baja California. Because remember, all of this is in the Mauritanian. All of this is old Mauritania as well. That's why I said amongst other names. So what? Spanish soldiers and missionaries invaded the homelands of the indigenous peoples of California, people of the Great Basin, the Pueblo peoples in the establishment of Alta. So this is all us. The term Alta, meaning high or upper in Spanish, was specifically used to designate the northern territories in the Viceroyalty of New Spain, which was again set up by the Moors, which is verified in the Congressional Record of 1845. Look at the colors, though. United Mexican States, the Unidos Mexicanos, right? The official name of the country. Okay. Read all of that. The secret name for the war god, the place of Mexi. The secret name of the war god. See? Huitztopacatili. Navel of the moon, derived from the Nahuatl people. Metzl, moon, like the crescent moon, which again was never a symbol of Islam. It was a symbol of those who brought forth the dispensation from the night to day, from the night by day, excuse me, the Moors, which was then adopted by the Muslims as their symbol. Now, peep this. The language of the Basque, known as Euskara, a unique language isolate, unrelated to any other known language, making it Europe's only pre-Indo-European tongue surviving from ancient times in the Basque country, straddling Spain and France. It is a distinct grammatical structure with dialects and standardized form of Euskara Butua, right? Used in the education of media today, despite facing suppression in the past. A language isolate, meaning Basque has no proven genetic link to other language families, like the Romance, like the German, or the Celtic. What? The Basque Country, a region spanning parts of northern Spain, Alvia, Biscaya, whatever that is, Navarre, southwestern France, Lobard, and the lower Navarre and Soleil. All of these were Moorish dominions. So that means they were isolated to where? The mountains, where all these niggas was grafted from. And then after the Moors was done, and around the I-800s, that's when they started to use them and started to ship them out and started to turn them into other people. The people today we call the pseudo-Mexicans, them cartel niggas, the Spaniards, and all of these types of people. Because they had no real language other than the shit that they were speaking, which was some fake mountain speak that was given to them when they was being created and once they was getting shipped out. Who was running, who was owning Alta and all of that at the time? Now, y'all heard about that family who won in court the right to get their land back, to get the beach back in California. Remember them people? And then them idiots went and then basically low key sold it right back, or somehow or another they was able to get it right back. Y'all heard about them people, them black people who own the beach out there in California? You know what those people's name was? Yes, they used the Treaty of Hidalgo and Guadalupe and all of that and shut it down, got it all back. But what you don't know is that they are actually the people who actually owned it all. They owned all of it, not just California, but they descended from the original peoples that was there, the old Moors that was there, because they also had ties to the Moors from across the water. Their name was the Bruces. Yes, the Bruce family. Yes. The history of the clan Bruce is a fascinating story of a family that rose to prominence in Scotland during the Middle Ages and went on to play a significant role in the country's history for centuries to come. The earliest known member of the Bruce family was Adam de Bruce, who built the castle in Normandy. See? Moors. In the 11th century, his descendants later followed William the Conqueror to England in 106 in I-066 and acquired significant lands in Surrey and Dorset. However, it was Robert de Bruce, who was a Dey, and later member of the family, who would leave the greatest mark on history. He became the loyal supporter of Prince David, who would later become David I of Scotland and followed him to Scotland. Robert was granted the lands of Annandale and became a powerful figure in the kingdom. The Bruce's family fortunes would rise and fall over the centuries, but they remained a prominent family in Scotland. In the 13th century, the family embroiled in a power struggle for the Scottish throne. Robert the Bruce, grandson of Robert Bruce, was a leading contender of the crown, but his claim was challenged by John Balliol, right? The two rivals engaged in a series of conflicts, and the Robert Bruce and ultimately emerged victorious, becoming the King of Scotland in 1306. He is perhaps best known for his victory in English in the Battle of Blackburn in I-314, where he secured Scotland's independence. These are the American descendants of the Bruce. Look at the Bruce tartan. Every clan from Scotland and them, they had a tartan, right? This is their tartan. Look at the colors. Right? Don't those colors look familiar? Those colors look familiar, huh? Yeah, this is the Robert the Bruce from Braveheart. Yes, this is them. Yeah. Yeah, but look. These colors look familiar, right? That's because they these colors. Because this is them. Exactly. This was Alta. Because again, the feathered serpent, the feather and the serpent coming together, right? The eagle representing the Holy Roman Empire, the serpent representing the lands over here, the Naga people, right? Coming together in the form, linking both the clans together. Yes, the original Bruces. So not only did they own the beach, they owned all of it. But they were deposed. You understand? They got rid of them and denied them, wrapped them up into the war with and then when the Mexican emperor Maximilian was killed, here he go. When they shot Maximilian, remember, it's all related. The flag colors are always related because they were connected. Hold on. Oh yeah. See? So they shot Maximilian. See how it's the same colors? The same colors of the continental flag? which is the other Moorish flag that they took down with the cedar trees. See them shooting Maximilian, the emperor? Who's shooting him? The Basque French mercenaries that then took everybody's place, right? And then set themselves up so that way they can now be the inheritors of what we call Latin America to this day. And these Latinos acting like they doing something, like they got their own history and all that. No, all that shit was given to you, bro. None of that shit is real. None of y'all niggas is really from here. All of y'all got deposed and deported. All of y'all brought them over here. Because y'all ain't have your own language. The language y'all was speaking, nobody could understand. Because it was Moorish was a global empire. We were global people. And the only way that they could break us down was by using the decoys that was left after all of the conflicts. And then the dirty ones started to create deals with the other ones in order for them to maintain power because they was being overrun. In the conference summit declaration relative to organization of police, Article 1, the conference summoned by His Majesty the Sultan to pronounce the measures necessary to organize the police declares that the following provision should be made. The police shall be under the sovereign authority of His Majesty the Sultan. It shall be recruited by the Mazgin, meaning the people within the jurisdiction of the Sultan's empire, from the Moorish Mohammedans, commanded by Moorish al-Qaids, right? Meaning like generals or chiefs, and distributed in the 8 ports of open commerce in order to aid the Sultan in the organization of this police, Spanish officers and non-commissioned officers as instructors, and what? French officers and non-commissioned officers as instructors shall be placed at his disposal by their respective governments, which shall submit their designation to the approval of his Sharifin Majesty. See, Sharifin, not Sharia. A contract drawn between the Mazgin and these instructors in conformity to the regulation provided by Article 4 shall determine the conditions of their engagement to fix their pay, which must not be less than double the pay corresponding to rank of each officer non-commissioned. In addition, they will allow the living expenses varying according to their residences. Proper lodgings will be placed at the disposal by the Mazgin, which will likewise supply them with their horses and necessary fodder. The governments having jurisdiction over the instructors reserve the right to recall them and replace them by others accepted and engaged under the same conditions. That's how they started bringing these niggas over here and putting them to work. And then there was a rebellion called the Mestizo Rebellion, where after a certain amount of time, these niggas started to work together to then basically depose everybody. You understand? Because all of the Muslim rule was coming to an end. So it all had to go underground. The European partition of Africa. Read chapter 47 in the Circle 7 Quran for your understanding or our Moorish understanding of Africa, so we don't get it twisted. Only Liberia and Abyssinia remain independent, 3 classes into which Africa falls from colonization standpoint: healthy Africa, yellow Africa, black Africa. See that? Prognostications as to the future race movements: predominant European races in the future. the 8 great languages of New Africa. Paganism will disappear. Mohammedan zeal will eventually decay. The Negro, meaning the American, may become identified in national interest with his diverse European rulers. They didn't say white European. They talking about the black ones that was coming into Africa using these niggas as the police and all of that to do all of they fighting for them. And not unite, form of universal Negro nation and cry, and not unite to form a universal Negro nation with the cry of Africa for Africans. If he is well treated, white nations may also rise in Africa, yet future Africa remains very uncertain. So you get it now. You see what I'm saying with all of this. This is how these niggas became what they are today and got us following behind what they think everything is, and it's the reverse. See how all of these can be any of the Europeans. These could be Jews, these could be Sicilians, these could be Italians, these could be Irish, right? Well, not maybe Irish, because Irish have more red hair, but you see what I'm saying? How they could basically, this could be a Europe, this could be German, this could be Argentinian, this could be Spanish, this could be Sicilian, this could be Jewish, this could be Guatemalan, right? Argentinian. This could be what do you call it? Honduran or whatever. All of the white ones. Look at them. Got them away from native language, put them here, and then boom, now they whatever we say they are. Russian, thank you. Could be Russian, it could be a Jew, it could be whatever. Because they had no language, so they could just rewrite them. And it says right here, they want to create the predominant races in the future with the 8 great languages of New Africa. But remember, the Africa they're talking about is over here. Because in the old maps in the 1500s, Africa was also Brazil. These could be Brazilians. Whatever language you give them. That's why they brought them all through Ellis Island and started to do assimilation things and putting them in pogroms and ghettos. The Jews, they would put in what they call shtetls. So it was always a scam. They've been moving people around for decades, for generations, and now we're finally waking up to where everybody is really from, and none of these niggas is from here. And they started using them, like I said, as decoys away from everybody else. And they started working together. But now is the time where everybody got to go back to where they from, regardless to whether they like it or not. So as much as they say that, oh, these blacks are saying that they Indians now and they really from Africa and all this bullshit, when they tell you that you're from West Africa, they playing you. You know why they say West Africa, that you got West African DNA? Where is America on the map? Is it north from Africa? From the continent they call Africa today? No, it's west from Africa, right? So if you find West African DNA in your documentation, in this fake DNA test they give you, what are they telling you? That you're American, because America is west of Africa. That's simple. When they say that you're sub-Saharan African, what they're saying is that you and your people exist on the equator, on the same line as sub-Sahara. Telling you in plain sight, but niggas is just always stupid and just always go by what they saying. Again, Jesse in the ground. So all that African American shit is dead. All that Pan-African shit is dead. You're not getting no burn with that no more. We're not going backwards no more. These the niggas that sold us out. They've been working together ever since. And these are the Moors who wind up getting caught up in all of this, mixing these people, creating these people, and then eventually falling victim to them. And then getting displaced themselves. And then these Europeans moving into Africa to become the ruling class, because now these Europeans then kicked them out. Everybody's capping, B. Everybody is acting like they something that they not, except us, because we don't have the luxury of any of that. Anybody have any questions? That's what the prophet said. Just be yourself. Because again, we're dealing with an occupying, belligerent occupier. But there's laws even to that. See? Occupation of the occupational law situations constituting belligerent occupation. That's what we're under right now. Isn't Donald Trump, isn't Donnie belligerent? Aren't these criminal attorneys and all of these people belligerent? The law of the belligerent occupation is only applicable as a matter of law when certain conditions have been met. The law of belligerent occupation generally does not apply to 1. A mere invasion, 2. Liberation of friendly territory, 3. Non-international armed conflict. This is what you're dealing with right now, or what we've been dealing with. Mere invasion. Mere physical presence of a belligerent military forces in territory of its enemy alone does not constitute military occupation. Such presence might not constitute an effective or firm possession of enemy territory, or a belligerent state might lack the intention to displace and substitute the enemy's state authority with its own. That's what they did in 1871. With the Union of the United States, which became the fake federal government. Guidance for the U.S. Armed Forces has sought to extend possible to apply the rules of law of occupation as a matter of policy to areas which the U.S. forces are passing even on the battlefield. The law of belligerent occupation does not apply to the liberation of friendly territory, meaning here. Indeed, a belligerent occupation presupposes that the occupying power is hostile in relation to the state whose territory is being occupied. That's why they don't want no army soldiers in your state, because that's illegal. It goes against the liberation of friendly territory. You see what I'm saying? So he's committing war crimes if he do that. That violates posse comitatus. The administration of the liberated territory may be conducted in accordance with the civil affairs agreement between the co-belligerent states. You understand? That's why it's all illegal. Because the co-belligerent states are all the co-conspirators that are working with them to occupy us illegally. Please start reading this war manual so you see what I'm talking about. Then finally, We need to do the knowledge to the fact that everything that this dude is doing has already been found illegal. How do we know this? Because back in the first term that this dude took control in, he put out this. You can look this up and read it yourself. He basically outed his own self with this and everything that they doing with this. Remember, everything that they've done, they've been doing because they've been executing this from false offices, because we haven't had a real government here since the perpetual union was created through the what you call it, through the Articles of Confederation. So every government that the United States has set up has been illegal. It's violated everything that I'm showing you right here, from the mere invasion to the liberation of the friendly territory. Look this up. Executive Order 13818, blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. By the authority vested in me by the Constitution, the laws of the United States, including the international economic blah blah blah, the nation of the magistrates blah blah blah. I, Donald Trump, United States, with the prevalence of the severity of the human rights abuse, corruption, that of the source and the whole substantial part outside of the United States, such as committed by the direct persons listed in the annex of this order. Go through this. When you read it, you will see that he abolished all of the governments, because this was based on the Chevron deference. Once Chevron was done, that means all of their protections were done. United States person means any United States citizen, permanent resident, entity organized under the laws of the United States jurisdiction, United States foreign branches, or any person in the United States. For those persons whose property and interests and property are blocked pursuant to this order, who might constitutionally presence in the United States, I find that because of the ability to transfer funds of assets, you just got to read it. He basically took all of the power away from the legislative branches. So technically, they don't even exist anymore. This was already done. So everything they're doing now is basically just for the fact that nobody has checked them on what it is that they've done. This is called the Department of Defense Manual for the Law of War Manual. This is the Bible for the military industrial complex that is currently collapsing around us. Anybody have any questions? Islam. Lastly, before you go, a couple of years ago, they posted these images and they said they was fake, but they came directly from the Hubble telescope, showing the cities above the firmament. This is when they were showing them cities that was popping up in the sky in China and all of that. Turns out these things was real. So when they talking about the true Zion and all of that going on, these were the images that they was finding of it that exist outside. And now when you try to look this up, they trying to hide it, but they're real. This is before AI was a thing. They tried to say they was faking all of that, but nope, these are real. Remember the prophet said that he would come through in a blaze and that would be unimagined, and he would be able to pick everybody up. These are real. Here's a colored version. This is from the Hubble telescope. You can check the link that I showed you on it, and you can see for yourself. There's some sort of city in the clouds or city above the firmament that these niggas is not trying to show niggas. And they've been trying to bury it, but it keep coming back up. All right. Yup. That's the link, or that's where it was at before they started messing with it. Then the dude that found it, coincidentally, his name is Mason. And Mr. Mason said that it had to be what it is because there's no other explanation as to what it could be. Trying to find it real quick. Of course, I can't find it. Yes, here it is. This is what Mr. Mason said about it. So this is what they fighting. In the vast night sky was undeniable a city, a true myth. Researcher Dr. Mason, citing NASA experts, stated that the city was undoubtedly heaven because, as far as he knows, human life cannot exist in the cold, airless void of space. Dr. Mason, who is a believer in God, excitedly declared. Isn't that crazy? Word, Asgard is real. Exactly, boy. They hiding everything, boy. Everything they hiding. Everything, boy. They hiding everything. So the proof of the joint is alive, just like this is proof of found this. Yada Chosen People on Facebook. Big up to them. We posted this too before we go. You can read this, pause it and read it later. But yeah, Israel. This case in 1854 case where a white man named the Chinese American Indian and took that name from an AKA Black African American, and the Chinese copies all of our clothes. Can you say identity theft? Yes. This case was George W. Hall, a white man, was convicted of murdering Lin Sing, a Chinese minor, based on the testimony of Chinese witnesses. See this? See, the decision legally stripped the Chinese immigrants of their right to testify in court against the white people, allowing the anti-Asian violence to go unpunished. The decision was widely regarded as most overtly racist in California's history, establishing that Chinese immigrants were inferior and therefore functionally the same as Native or Negro Black Americans under the contemporary explanatory laws. See that? The white man's murder conviction by ruling that the Chinese witnesses could not testify against white citizens. The Chinese judge, Chief Justice Hugh Murray, agreed that the term Indian in a state statute included Chinese, classifying them as inferior, non-white, and unfit. See that? So that's what an Indian means in law. Just so you know. So stop betraying your culture and declare your nationality before it's too late. Any other questions before we close out? Excellent. So anybody wants to hit me up at houseofl or hotmail.com. If you haven't already, please check out the new joint, the new book I got out. You can get it directly uh, at www.aseertheducateers.com. If you haven't already, please check out www.cordobaorganics.com as well. That's the cover of the joint if you haven't seen it. I also got Dosco 418 up there. If you haven't checked out a copy of that yet, please check that out. Show you that real quick. Yep. Definitely, I appreciate all the support you guys for coming through. Please, again, check out the books that we mentioned on this joint so you can see what I'm talking about. Explain it to other people who still trying to act like they are something that they're not. Because the only way we're going to get out of this is if everybody be theyself. That's the one thing we can't be. I can stare at you all day and you can stare at me all day, but I will always be me and you will always be you. So let's be ourselves so that way we can get what we all supposed to get. That's laid out for us. You know what I'm saying? So again, honest to everybody that's been supporting all of the mores on YouTube, all of the mores on Facebook, and those two areas, as well as everybody, all of y'all, man, and everybody listening from now or to the future, inshallah. Because again, we all we got. So again, thank you guys for the support, and inshallah, see you next week for another dose of the war. Excuse me, the armed conflict. Pax et amor, Proconi Malut Laudibus, Rowena Mortis. Peace.